Assalamualaikum and very good morning to our Madam Jane. Today we would like to discuss about our presentation, group presentation. It is an online virtual visit. Our topic we choose is a National Archive of Australia. Okay, my name is Ahmad Izzuan bin Sulaiman. I will presenting my section which is acquisition and collection. Introduction. What means archive? Archive means a document of record that are selected should be kept at a very high value and can serve as an evidence or source of past research or vice versa. These records were also created by a number of active or individual organization activities, while in the use of some of them were later selected and stored in an archive collection section. This collection of archive is unique and important to maintain with care at all times. Every item received must be carefully preserved and always protected for the future. Okay, in addition, archive in every country and territory, organization, communication, and individual are priceless. Each party provides information or evidence of past activity of storytelling, which is a valuable information for use as research material. Information stored or recorded is also a part of memory and also very important part of our community, culture, official and informal history. Okay, we move to next section, which is acquisition. Every historical record repository is involved in acquiring record or manuscript. People may collect material from our local community or material pertaining to certain subject or time period. They may also acquire administrative record from your parents' organization. Regardless of the source of record, is important to consider how you acquire record, why user record need to acquire, and what record use collect. Okay. This day, many modern record need to require define specific criteria for collected record. Each record acquisition must complete with the collection policy and evaluation criteria attends to collection policy and evaluation criteria also sometimes because some rejection of interesting or valuable collection that has been offered. However, it does not ensure that archive will continue to reach the organization ability to take care of user collection, and user will also find that staff will be meet a processing delay, full storage and user budget. In addition, increasing the opportunity to provide online user collection documenting to ownership of a user collection, as well as obtain an appropriate and valid title to the user record is crucial. If it does not document ownership and owner right to use the record, it is possible that the user will not be able to reproduce the exhibit or making it unavailable. We move to the next section, there are certain element of acquisition policy, which is first is a general statement of purpose, second statement of authority, third is definition of terms, fourth a general description of acquisition responsibility, fifth is a general description of condition which material must meet to be acquired, sixth a general description of review and disassessing of unwanted material, and lastly information to whom to contact about material potential acquisition. Okay, next. There are three acquiring method. First is transfer, second is loan, and third is purchase. Okay, moving to the first, which is a transfer. Transfer means a selected archive will be prepared for the transfer and usually based on the design disposal schedule. The second method is a loan. Temporary loan only for specific purpose to use in an exhibition. Once it is finished, the material must be returned, identified, indefinite loan avoid receive any indefinite loan as it can give a lot of problem to archive. Okay, the last method is purchase, which is an expensive practice. This method will be needed when there is available to archive material and affordable to purchase. Okay, next is purpose of acquiring method. There are four purpose while acquiring the method. First is to ensure the safety of national heritage treasure is preserved, which is very important to every country, to saving the heritage treasure and to keep the value until now. And second is to add more collection of national heritage, including from the outsider of country. Third is to promote archive for future generation, and lastly it is to protect and maintain the archive from damage. Okay, move to the section. Okay, the section is a collection. Collection refer to service, function, and activity used within archive service that support the active development of collection. Activity that support collection development including the acquisition and appraisal of record, as well as identifying assessing community needs and resource planning. This activity also include the dissensioning of record where appropriate. Okay, it means that collection development refer to a series of function and activity used with the archive to support the collection. This means that archive service may also develop their collection through program and process which create a record such as a oral history project, and by reviewing their current holding. This activity should be carried out with an eye to and coordinating with other repository, ensuring the responsible stewardship of collection. Coordinating or collecting can also address gap in and between collection and build connection between collection and archive service to the benefit of all of those who use archive. Okay, we move to the next section. The main benefit having a collection development policy, which can be under four holding. First thing first is selection. Selection means data collection development policy product provide guidance to staff when selecting material for their collection. Defining the boundaries of collection activities, the document serves as a guide for each stage of holding, covering selection, acquiring, appraisal, preservation, and decisioning of record. This reduces personal bias by setting individual decisions within the scope and context of the aims of the collection practice, and identify gaps with a collection, ensuring consistency and continuity across decision making. Okay, the second one is planning. Planning means a policy document provide a frame basis for future planning, helping to determine priority in turn. In turn, this help to identify the resource to support the achievement of goals. Compiling a formal policy also help staff to review existing collection strengths. Inviting a reflecting practice. In turn, this assists with other collection management activities such as determining, cataloging priorities, and help to form a current collection strategy which is understood by staff and user. Okay, the third part is communication. Collection development policy are useful advocacy tool when archive service communicate their parental organisation, user and funding bodies. They help to support the aim and objective of their parental organisation, demonstrating the archive service accountability and commitment to agreed goals. Okay, the last one is the context. As archive service increasingly diversify their governance structure and forms new partnership, there must be a mutual knowledge and understanding of what individual archive service collection development policy can serve as a best seat for vendor cooperation and resource sharing with the locally, regionally, and nationally. Okay, that's all for my present, and I will pass to my next friends.
Okay, my name is Muhammad Farhaminu bin Jamli, and I'm here to present appraisal and disposal of archive. Appraisal can be defined as a process of determining two important processes with its enduring value and continuing utility. If inactive records do not have both value and utility, the record will be disposed by archivist or archive manager based on guidelines that given from National Archive. Continuing utility is the process where the archivist determine whether the record needs to be kept and for how long this record can support and continue the organization activity. Meanwhile, enduring value is the process of required activities to determine the record should be permanently preserved because it has its historical value. If the record appraisal is become inefficient, it will create more problems such as poor retrieval record system congest with semi and non-current record, and ultimately make the record management collapse. The goods record appraisal can lead to prompt record disposal because of loss the value and its utility, and thus create a balance of life cycle records. Neither the records disposed too early or too late. The good administration can determine the life expectancy of record with the developed records retention period. There are three types of disposal schedule, which is disposal list, disposition schedule, and transferring schedule. Disposal list is the list of the record that needs to disposal because it have lost the continuing utility and enduring record. The disposition schedule, meanwhile, is the schedule that archivist needs to do frequent sometime to create a new room for the new material or records to be kept. Meanwhile, the not very new material needs to be put in the far back at the store, because it just to give a new chance of the new record have more time. The third one is the transferring schedule. Is the schedule with the material needs to be transferred from one record center to another record center or to the archive, because
Hi, my name is Muhammad Wafi bin Sulaiman and I am from group IM to st2, and I will explain about the management and description. So the archival content processing required the record to be first arranged and then described. The arrangement is include reviewing the document to see who or what they were made, how they were made, what task or event the document is, how they were created on, and how the physical appearance is. The archival system is regulated by the main concept of respect default. So the record must be arranged according to the organization or individual that create or receive, maintain, and use the record while they were still current. And then the description is the method of describing the structure so that people researchers, manager, whoever who want to use the document know where to look the document and find it. So and then the material, the record must be not ordered by subject, date, or medium of material if that wasn't how they were arranged when they were made. So the archivist will identify the archive level according to the hierarchical level of arrangement, which is group, subgroup, series, file, and item. The record will be sorted into group according to how they were originally created and be kept while it's still an active record. A group consists of all records that will come from a different organization. Every creating organization should have definition of itself consisting of one of the following data element. The description should have the name, should have their official name, and then all other names that the agency have been known. And then the archivist will put a list of other organizations that were linked to the agency at any time described. And then the group will be put a reference code to ensure an easy retrieval. Reference codes usually 2 or 3 letters that reflect the organization name. For example, for a meaningful code is CSO, that represent Chief Secretary Office, and then non-meaningful code is PAW that represent Jabatan Pertahanan Awam. Subgroup is a group that branch out from the main group. There may be a subgroup within a group where the group originating organization that have administrative or functional subdivision. The archivist will determine what subgroup that the main group have and arrange the record into different subgroup. For example, the main group is Jabatan Pelajaran Malaysia, and the subgroup will be the primary school, secondary school, and IPTA, IPTS. Series is used by the created agency to refer to specific organized set of records kept and used together as a system from which the archive was selected. The series of records should have kept together as the same as their original order. The series is important archive control unit because it is reflect how the record were originally created and used. Usually, when the record can be easily determine its original order, there were a number of type of arrangement that were archivists will use to arrange the record, which is chronological order, alphabetical order, hierarchical order, geographical order, and record types order. Record usually in files with variety of materials in each file, depending on how subject matters, time frame, and problem. The record will be arranged into specific types of separate all the record. The retrieval activity will become more easier when the record is arranged into in its own types. Reference code is the combination of alphabet and number that used by archivists to allocate the group, series, and item in order to identify and control the materials. Archival codes can help the institution track and retrieve all the records. All types of system of reference can be used, but it is recommended to use letters that identify group, series, file, and item. For example, PAW represent group, 4 is subgroup, 2 is series, and 24 is file. And lastly, the description is the process of collecting, reviewing, and arranging and documenting information that define, maintains, locate, and describe the archive, and the context and documenting structure that create them. The archivist will use ISAG, which is represent standard archival description, in order to describe the record. There are 3 types of descriptive tools, which is archival guide, item list, and indexes.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Syahri Pijazi. Today I will present to you about preservation and storage of archive, also access and reference services. Preservation is important for the management of document in order to avoid the loss of information due to degradation of the record media. Preparation is important for good record and archive management. It is better to focus on preventive conservation measures and ensure adequate environmental and physical control than to focus on conservation treatment for one object to exclusion of other within the institution. Preservation strategies and initiatives has to be synchronized with other organization criteria. Preservation planning is a process in which general specific collection need to care, identify, prioritize, and identify to research or for implementation are identified. The main objective is to outline a roadmap or identify a course of action that will enable you to set a current and future conservation agendas. It defines the activities that the organization will take and those it will never take to ensure that the resource that can be distributed accordingly. The most critical step in the implementation of the conservation program are to gain approval from the organization's top management, to perform a conservation survey, to set goals and criteria, to determine the conservation needs and the collection of documents, to define targets, to choose an effective conservation solution, and to set up a disaster preparedness plan. It is crucial to ensure the stakeholders are on board when setting up conservation program. Planning takes time and sometimes it takes money. To seek the sale need for such preparation to the top management of the company. The record management or archivist should be able to sell the proposal in quite and precise way and should portray the conservation plan as a positive target and that will make business process more effective, efficient and economical, plus the ethical approach to handle the archive. Obtaining management assistance, the next move is perform a conservation survey. The biodiversity survey ensures that you have a clear understanding of the size and scope of the collection. Questions such as following can be addressed while researching the essence of the cells, which subjects are be collected, why are they be collected, what are the components of the collection, what kind of content do they contain. Such a survey is important because it is not possible to provide a complete conservation treatment for all material in an archival institution. Copying and restoring archival material is costly. One of the things that need to be addressed is what need to be protected. Establishing standard helps ensure that the material used to build document and archive are of the highest quality possible. It is important to recognize the decision will have to be taken as to what resources should be spent on and what more passive care should be given. Storage of the archive. Archive and record storage building are buildings that provide a suitable place for the preservation of documents and items that need permanent security for and conservation of historic and lifelong preservation. Archive and record storage building must be a high performance building whose structure must be built to function indefinitely at very high standard with zero failure tolerance. The sometimes irreplaceable existence of the material to be permanently stored and preserved in the form of building involves life cycle study and approach to its design and construction, including significant redundancy in its building system. The archive and record storage building must provide a clean, efficient, affordable, comfortable, robust, aesthetically pleasing and usable working atmosphere. Administrative office space and archival and conservation office space and permanent storage space for archival storage and document materials must be accommodated. Significant construction problem for archive and data storage building were storage of archive materials to maximize efficiency, utilize building cubic space, flexibility for change of mission, new material to be stored, and archival technology, provision for archival expansion vertically, horizontally. Protection of the archive material is a principal design driver for the building type. Compartmentalization of storage area to limit involved area catastrophic loss in case of fire or system failure. Fire protection of the stored material. Safety of staff and visitor occupant. Temperature and humidity requirement that may vary for different type of material stored in archival areas and in the archival or preservation office areas. Daylighting for employee amenity, but not that would harm archival material or adversely affect sensitive indoor environmental conditions. Control access to archive storage area. Secure and safe loading reserving areas. Secure and control public essential access. Access and reference services. Access to audiovisual resources can be given at several levels, ranging from one-to-one survey to product promotion and public presentation. The skill and expertise required are also considerable. Expertise of the product is user, technological skill, business skill, legal knowledge, and skill of exploitation. Access refers to the term and connection of delivery of audiovisual content for displaying and reusing. Access specification include the delivery of audiovisual document or sequence with sufficient metadata and access clearance and access management. Reference services or refer to facilities and service the archive provide once access to the material has been approved. Enabling use involve helping researchers to find and select material, provide the efficient delivery system for commercial and public access, and where necessary, providing quality restoration. In order to maximize the usability of the resource, the archive should be offered a large part of a collection in a variety of formats through commonly used access systems. All relevant records should be converted to format that can be replicated and circulated with the necessary equipment or made accessible by collaboration with other institutions or archives wherever it is possible. If such equipment cannot be obtained or maintained, relocation, conversion or emulation should be considered, at least for documents of special value. Attention should be paid to installing adequate security system to protect both hardware and software. Users. Archive should be develop a general access or reference policy for a user, which specify who has access to the material, how to apply for viewing or reusing, what limitation may exist, how much material may be accessed at one time, and of course, what permits are needed to reuse the material. It may be that some type of collection in the archive has special consideration, and this is also can be stated in the policy. Permission to access and reuse material will rely on the arrangement that the collection was originally made with the donor or previous owner, which may include the owner of the copyright. If the archive did not ensure that the material could be viewed and reused where it was acquired, access to the material could be severely restricted. Copyright. Reusing audiovisual material can be difficult as there are many actors involved in the production of the content. Producer, actors, singers, screenwriters, and others are the only few of the people who may have intellectual right to the content. For each item in the inventory, for legal status must be clearly defined and preferably recorded in the catalogue record. After reuse require the signing of the license agreement that specify when and where the content be used and any fees involved. Exploitation or outreach. There are various ways in which the audiovisual archive can be exploited in its collection. It may have an in-house exhibition space, or it may choose to leverage its asset by exhibit in other institutions. The audiovisual archive may also wish to work with educational institutions to incorporate audiovisual documents into the curriculum, or it may seek to commercially leverage its assets through the production and packaging of goods of a specific audience or industry. All of these options will increase the visibility of the archive in the community and ensure greater use of the collection. That's all for today. Thank you for hearing me for the presentation.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I would like to discuss about outreach activity of archive. Culturally, archive were considered place where aged documents, important documents, photographs, and genealogical records were safely stored from destruction. Correlated with this reality was the assumption that archives are not places frequented by people in order to find information or anything else in the material. A small percentage of the population is aware that archives are available to the public, particularly historians and those participating in genealogical associations. For the most part, however, archives are not the first word that comes to mind when there's need to find something out, and that's the problem of running such an organization. If they would hope to significantly raise the use of their infrastructure, archives must develop facilities and strategies that inform the public about their holdings and the procedures for reference. These days, everything has to be validated, but it is no longer important enough to point out the value of maintaining the past, when last section of society have long been considered last week. As the world continues to move momentum of constant change, and as space attachment breaks down, our temporal synthesis is stripped away. Our experiences are no longer uniquely local and specific, and a world society rises up that has a seamless flavor. Outreach is the practice of offering service to any community otherwise unable to access such services. A crucial aspect of outreach is that the organization that delivers it is not stationary but mobile, or in other words, it means meeting someone else at the place where they are in need of a service. Through addition to service delivery, outreach has an educational function and increased awareness about available programs. Increasing numbers of archivists over the past few years have demonstrated an interest in supporting greater archive awareness. Many have embraced the idea that qualified archivist does not restrict resources to the elderly scholar who wants to solve historical mysteries. The outreach activity that help archive.
Internet access. The future is with electronic documents, and as much use as possible should be made of it. One thing an archive can start to gain the trust they need is to build a program that explains how their institution works and what kinds of source of information can be found in such a place world. Internet connection are worldwide, so there is a big advantage of using internet. Freenets are also a strong starting point, even though they are community-based and draw a variety of people from all walks of life. Numerically, it's hard to tell how much popularity you will gain from the creation of an internet site, but it's always a necessity to consider. Through addition, many scholars are deeply concerned with web-based services and the explosion of electronic media, and so for many repositories, this will be a good starting point. The other way will be to provide a platform that advertises the outreach initiative and does not rely mainly on personal buildings. The Maryland State Archive in Annapolis, for example, has a web page detailing the course offered in the archive. Details of an innovative computer-based teaching environment and methods that capitalize on web-like technology, highlighting an interactive computer-equipped seminar room and information system and training facilities. There's a Maryland State Archive, 1997. Some other program use is an internship that pays for students from college and high school to gain knowledge about archive and become interested in historical knowledge. The importance of outreach in archive. Repositories provide essential source for researching human interaction in all disciplines and fields. Archivists and curators devote much time and money discovering and planning such documents for their ultimate use. As a career path, that new activities have begun to emerge, related to technological advances that help us to achieve a wider and more comprehensive audience, with the clear strategy of educating the reader about historic treasures and how they could be used in a large variety of questions. Many of those activities were grouped by archivists and curators under the role of outreach. In conclusion, archival outreach programs serve a significant role in preserving and promoting public history. Community-based educational programs that are supported and enforced by archival repositories enable actual and potential patrons to learn about their local history and become familiar with historical documents. By following their orders of related development of communication and culture, such as museology and library science, archives can expand their accessibility by trying to make their collection useful and publicly accessible. Promoting group recognition through archival education helps everyone in group, not just the archive that stands to gain from the initiative, users, or service. For once that is accomplished, societies will be able to survive together again and keep moving forward as an united people, forming communities that value their cultural identity and taking the time and resources to invest in preserving it. Thank you. That's all from our group.